Hi friends, my name is Maruti and I'm the co-founder of Kraku. In this video, we'll be explaining the quant questions from CAT 2021, slot 3, quant section. We'll initially show the question and after that we'll provide the video explanation. So if you want to try the question on your own, please do pause the video and after that you can see the video solution. Many students ask us what is a good place to practice CAT level questions. I want to tell you that Kraku's daily targets are an excellent resource to practice CAT level questions. Every single day we give one LRDI set, we give 5 questions in quant from the same topic, and we also give one reading comprehension set. All of these questions have detailed video solutions and they are taken by thousands of students every single day. So if you're looking for a good place to prepare for CAT level questions, definitely do check out the Kraku daily target. In addition to that, as CAT is approaching, I want to recommend you to take as many mocks as you can, and Kraku's dash CATs are very similar to actual CAT. All of the questions have detailed video solutions. If you get stuck somewhere, you can definitely check out the video solution. We have put in a lot of effort in making these kind of videos. So please do like this video, and if you have any doubts, please do comment your doubts, and please do subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon. In this question, we are told that a shop owner bought 64 shirts in a wholesale market. Some of them are small and some of them are large. So S plus L is equal to 64. We are told that the price of a small one is 50 less than the price of a large one. So if you assume that the price of a small one is P, the price of a large one is P plus 50. The total money made by selling the small t-shirts is 1800. So P into S is equal to 1800. And the total money made by selling large t-shirts is 5000. So P plus 50, which is the price of a large t-shirt, into L, but L is 64 minus S, is equal to 5000. What is P? P is equal to 1800 by S. So 1800 by S plus 50 into 64 minus S is equal to 5000. We can cancel 50 from the left hand side and right hand side because both the terms of the first bracket are multiples of 50. So this would simplify to equal 36 by S plus 1 into 64 minus S is equal to 100. This is a simple quadratic equation. Let us expand the terms on the left hand side. 64 into 36 is 2304. So 2304 divided by S plus 64 minus 36 minus S is equal to 100. 100 minus 64 is 36. 36 plus 36 will be 72. Or the quadratic equation we are going to get is that S square plus 72S minus 2304 is equal to 0. S square plus 72S minus 2304 can be factorized to equal S plus 96 into S minus 24 is equal to 0. So the value of S is 24. So the person has sold 24 t-shirts and the number of large t-shirts that were sold will be 64 minus S, which is equal to 40. The price P will be equal to 1800 divided by 24. What is 1800 divided by 24? That is equal to 75. So the price of a small t-shirt is 75 and the price of a large t-shirt is P plus 50. So that is equal to 125. So the price of a small t-shirt plus the price of a large t-shirt will be 75 plus 125, which is equal to 200. That is option C. In this question, we are told that Rahul started a work at 9 AM and Gautam joined him 2 hours later. So Rahul started a work at 9 AM and Gautam joined him 2 hours later. So that is at 11 AM. They worked together and finished the job at 5 PM. So how much time did Rahul work? Rahul worked from 9 AM to 5 PM. So that is 8 hours. So if he does R units of work every hour, the total work done by Rahul is 8 hours plus Gautam worked from 11 AM to 5 PM. That is he worked for 6 hours. If you assume that he does G units of work every hour, 8 hour plus 6G is the total work that needs to be done. We are told that if Gautam, instead of joining him at 11 AM, if he had joined him at 9 AM itself, then the work would have been finished half an hour earlier. That is, the work would have finished at 4:30 PM. In this particular case, Rahul and Gautam, both of them would have worked for 7.5 hours each. So 7.5 R plus 7.5 G is also equal to W. We can equate both of them. If you are equating both of them, we will get a relationship between R and G. it would imply that 0.5 R is equal to 1.5 G, or the value of R is equal to 3G. Therefore, what is the total work that needs to be done in terms of R? It will be 8R plus what is 6G? 3G is equal to R, so 6G will be equal to 2R. This is the work that needs to be done, or work that needs to be done is 10R. So if Rahul is working at it alone, he would have taken 10 hours to finish the job. So that is option B. In this question, we are told that in a tournament, a team has played 40 matches and won 30% of them. So the total matches that are played by the team right now is 40, and the matches won is 30% of them, which is 12. We are told that if they win 60% of the remaining matches, let us assume that the number of remaining matches is n, and if they are winning 60% of them, they are winning 0.6n. Then their overall win percentage will be 50%. So what this would imply is that the total number of matches that they won, 12 plus 0.6n, divided by the total number of matches that they have played, which is 40 plus n, is equal to 50%, which is 0.5. Or if you simplify it, 12 plus 0.6n is equal to 0.5 into 40 plus n, so that is 20 plus 0.5n. Or the value of 0.1n is equal to 8, or the value of n is equal to 80. So the remaining number of matches is 80. Now if they won 90% of the remaining matches, the number of matches that they would have won would be 90% of 80, which is 72. Then the total number of matches won by the team in the tournament will be 12 plus 72, which is equal to 84. So the correct answer is option C.
Hi friends, welcome to Kraku's video series. In this particular question, I'll be solving this slightly difficult question that came in slot 3. This question is not an easy question. At first glance, most would actually leave this question because it involves a lot of enumeration. But let's take a look at the question. Can this question be solved without enumerating all the cases that are possible? So let's take a look at the question. The number of distinct pairs of integers m comma n satisfying modulus of 1 plus mn less than modulus of m plus n, which is less than 5, is how much? So I see there are two modulus signs and there is 5 also, and there's a strict less than condition over there. So the first thing that I'll actually do is that I'll take the square of the equation just to remove the modulus sign. So if I take the square of the equation, what do I get? 1 plus mn the whole square should be less than, because modulus sign, it gets removed when you take the square of the equation. So that should be less, and all this is positive, and 5 is also positive. So there is no changing of the inequality sign. So this should be strictly less than m plus n the whole square, which should be less than 5 square, which is 25. So if I expand this, I get 1 plus n square plus 2mn should be less than m square plus n square plus 2mn and should be less than 25. But I want to cancel off these 2mn, so I can, if I cancel this off, I get that 1 plus n square should be less than n square plus n square. So if I take all of these terms to the other side, I get 0 should be should be less than m square plus n square minus m square n square minus 1. So if I take the terms in common, what do I get? So m square minus m square n square, so I can take m square in common, so that becomes 1 minus n square, and this is n square minus 1. So if I take minus 1 in common, I can write that as 1 minus n square. So what do I get? I get that 0 should be less than m square minus 1 times 1 minus n square. But 1 minus n square and m square minus 1 doesn't look symmetric, and I want symmetric pairs as such as much as possible, so that I can just multiply it by this. Moreover, if I take this as n square minus 1, this becomes less than. So that means that m square minus 1 into n square minus 1 should be what? This should be less than 0. Now this is interesting because I am taking this, multiplying this term by minus 1, then inequality sign should flip, which means that this should be less than 0. Now this is interesting because this means that m square minus 1, one of these two terms has to be negative and the other one has to be positive. So I get two cases. The first case is case 1, which is that n square is greater than 1 and n square is less than 1. Or the second case is m square is less than 1 and n square is greater than 1. Now consider in both of these cases, these are integers, so they have to be real numbers, which mean that m square and n square have to be positive. And since they are integers, the only value that n square can take or n square can take which is less than 1 is 0 when either m or n is less than 0. So if this is the case, okay, m square is greater than 1, n square is less than 1, that means in the first case n has to be equal to 0, because that is the only integral value square that it can take such that it is less than 1. So if you consider minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, all of this, minus 1 onwards, the square's value will be 1 or greater. Plus 1 onwards also, all integers, it will be 1 or greater. These are integral pairs. Only m and n can take integral values. So the only way that n square is less than 1 is if n is equal to 0. Similarly, the only way that m square is less than 1 is if m is equal to 0. So essentially these two cases that I get from this particular equation is that either n is 0 or m is 0. Now in both cases, what happens to our original equation? If n is 0, what happens to our original equation? This term becomes 0. So essentially 1 has to be less than modulus of m, which has to be less than 5. Now in this case, what values can m take? M can take the values 2, 3, 4, and it can also take negative values because of the modulus. It can take minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4 as such. So m in this particular can be 2, 3, 4 or minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4. Now consider the other case where m is equal to 0. If m is equal to 0, what happens to this equation? Again this particular term becomes 0, and then again the equation becomes 1 should be less than the modulus of n, which should be less than 5. Again then in this case n is equal to 2, 3, 4 or minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4. So essentially I get, for each of the two cases, I get 6 values or 6 pairs each. So there are 12 pairs as such. When n is equal to 0, m can take 6 values. When m is equal to 0, n can take these 6 values. There is no overlap, so 6 plus 6 becomes 12. So how many distinct pairs of integers m and n are there? There are 12 such pairs of integers. Right answer to key in would have been 12. As you can see, this does not involve entire enumeration. Whenever you see a modulus, try to see whether the complexity of the equation can be reduced by just taking a square term as such. If you square both sides, maybe you can cancel something off, and then you can reduce the number of terms that you have to consider, the number of cases you have to consider. So this is how you solve this particular question.
In this question, we are told that log of a to the base 15 plus log of a to the base 32 divided by log of a to the base 15 into log of a to the base 32 is equal to 4, and we are asked to find out the interval in which a is going to lie. If you are first cross multiplying, you are given that log of a to the base 15 plus log of a to the base 32 is equal to 4 times log of a to the base 15 into log of a to the base 32. We know that log of a to the base 15 is basically equal to log of a divided by log of 15 plus log of a divided by log of 32. This is equal to 4 times log of a divided by log of 15 into log of a divided by log of 32. We can cancel one log of a from the left hand side and right hand side, and now again multiply both sides with log of 15 into log of 32. So the left hand side becomes equal to log of 32 plus log of 15 is equal to 4 times log of a, or log of 480, which is 32 into 15, is equal to log of a to the power 4. We can cancel logs on both sides. So a to the power 4 is equal to 480. We can calculate the exact value of a, but essentially what we are asked to find out is whether a lies between 2 and 3, or whether it lies between 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, or whether it is greater than 5. That is the options that are given to us. We know that 4 to the power 4 is 256 and 5 to the power 4 is 625. 480 lies somewhere in the middle of 256 and 625. So a to the power 4, which is equal to 480, would imply that a lies between 4 and 5. So the correct answer is option C.
Google search CrackU free CAT mocks. Click on the first link. You can attempt 3 latest mocks in the actual exam interface. After completing the test, You get detailed solutions, analysis, and percentile along with your scorecard to gauge your All India performance. Click on the solutions to get video solutions from our expert faculty.
In this question, we are told that the total male and female population in city increased by 25% from 1970 to 1980. So this is the numbers in 1970, this is the numbers in 1980, and we'll have some numbers in 1990. The total population, let us assume in 1970 was X. So it has increased by 25%, so it becomes 1.25x. We are told that during the same period, the male population increased by 40%. So if you assume that the number of males in 1970 is M, the number of males in 1980 becomes 1.4m. And the number of females increased by 20%. So if you assume that the number of females in 1970 is F, the number of females in 1980 becomes 1.2f. Now we have two equations and we can figure out a relationship between M and F. What are the two equations that we have? M plus F will be equal to X, because the number of males plus the number of females is the total population in 1970, and it is the same case even in 1980. You have 1.4M plus 1.2f is equal to 1.25x. So we have three variables and two equations. But the first thing we want to figure out is what is the relationship between M and F. So we'll try to eliminate x. We have x on the right hand side here and 1.25x. We'll try to make both of them the same. So we'll multiply the first equation with 5 so that the right hand side becomes 5x, and the second equation will multiply by 4 because 1.25x into 4 is again 5x. Or essentially what we are saying is that 5m plus 5f from the first equation is equal to 5x, and from the second equation 1.25x into 4 is also equal to 5x. So that will equal 4 times 1.4m plus 1.2f. So that is 5.6m plus 4.8f. Or this would imply that 0.6m is equal to 0.2f, or the value of 3m is equal to f. So now we'll substitute f with 3m. Therefore, the value of 1.2f will be equal to 3.6m. And the value of x will be m plus 3m, which is equal to 4m. Therefore, the value of 1.25x will be equal to 5m. So the total population in 1970 is 4m, which had m males and 3m females. The total population in 1980 is 5m, which had 1.4m and 3.6m females. We are given some information about 1990. We are told that the female population increased by 25% from 1980 to 1990. So there is an increase of 25% from 3.6m. So the number of females in 1990 will be 1.25 into 3.6m, which is equal to 4.5m. And the number of females is twice the number of males. So the number of males will be 2.25m. Therefore, the total population in 1990 will be 2.25m plus 4.5m, which is equal to 6.75m. Therefore, the percentage increase in the total population from 1970 to 1990 is 6.75 minus 4 divided by 4 into 100, which is equal to 2.75 into 100 by 4, which is equal to 275 by 4. This is 68.75%, which is option B. In this question, we are given a sequence of numbers x1, x2, dot, dot, dot. We are told that x1 is equal to minus 1 and x of n plus 1 is equal to xn plus n minus 1. So we know that x1 is equal to minus 1. We know that x2 is equal to x1 plus 0 because that is plus 1 minus 1. x3 is equal to x2 plus 2 minus 1, which is equal to 1. x4 is equal to x3 plus 3 minus 1, so that is 2. Similarly, this will continue. We are required to calculate the value of x100. x of 100 is equal to x of 99 plus 99 minus 1, so that is 98. If you are adding the left hand side, it will be x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 till x100. This is equal to x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 till x99. plus 0, 1, 2 dot 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 till 98, that is 1 plus 2 plus dot 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 till 98 minus the original 1. The reason we write it this way is because then we can cancel x1 to x99 on both sides, and the value of x100 will be equal to 1 plus 2 plus dot 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 till 98 minus 1. What is the sum of the first 98 natural numbers? The sum of the first n natural numbers, that is 1 plus 2 plus dot 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 till n, is equal to n into n plus 1 divided by 2. In this particular case, that will be 98 into 99 divided by 2 minus 1. 98 by 2 is 49, so this is 49 into 99 minus 1. 49 into 99 is 4851. So this is 4851 minus 1, which is 4850. So the correct answer is option D. We are told that the arithmetic mean of 25 students in an examination is 50. So there are 25 students, the average marks scored by them is 50. So the total marks scored by these 25 students is 25 into 50, which is 1250. We are told that 5 of the students are the toppers and they have scored the same number of marks. So let us assume that each of them has scored T. So because there are 5 toppers, the total marks scored by these 5 toppers is 5T. So there are 20 students left who are not the toppers, and the scores, the total score by these 20 students will be equal to 1250 minus 5T. We are told that the least marks was 30. And all of these remaining 20 students scored distinct integers. So we are trying to maximize the scores by the toppers. So as you are trying to maximize the scores by the toppers, you would want to minimize the scores by the remaining 20 people. So the remaining people would have to score 30 plus 31 plus 32 plus dot 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 till 49. What is the minimum value of this? What is the sum of these 20 students? That is, what is the value of 30 plus 31 plus dot 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 till 49? That will be equal to 20 divided by 2 into 30 plus 49. Remember that in any arithmetic progression, if you know the first term and if you know the last term and you know the number of terms, the sum is equal to the number of terms into the first term plus the last term divided by 2. In this particular case, there are 20 terms, so it is 20 by 2 into the first term plus the last term. This will be 790. The scores by the remaining 20 students is 790. That is the minimum possible value of the sum of the remaining 20 students. This would imply that if you are trying to maximize the value of T, 1250 minus 5T is equal to 790, or the value of 5T is equal to 460, or the value of T is equal to 92. So the maximum possible score by the toppers is 92. Because the minimum score of the remaining 20 students, the minimum sum of those 20 scores is 790. In that particular case, the value of T is 92, which will be the maximum possible score of the toppers. In this question, we are told that one part of a hostel's expense is fixed while the other is proportional to the number of its boarders. So the expense of a hostel is fixed. Let us call the fixed portion to be equal to F plus a proportionality constant K into N. Okay, where N is the number of boarders. As the number of boarders increases, the variable expense also increases proportionally and the fixed cost will remain the same, which is F. The revenue that it generates per boarder is the same, it is 1600. So the revenue is 1600 N. So the total profit that it makes will be equal to 1600 N, which is the total revenue, minus F minus Kn. So the profit per boarder, which is the information that is given to us, will be equal to this total profit divided by N. So this will be 1600 minus K minus F divided by N. We are given the profit per boarder when the number of boarders is 50. We are also given the profit per boarder when the number of boarders is 75. So when the number of boarders is 50, the profit per boarder will be 1600 minus K minus F divided by 50. This we are told is equal to 200. And when the number of boarders is 75, the profit per boarder will be 1600 minus K minus F by 75. This we are told is 250. So if you subtract the first equation from the second equation, we are going to get that F by 50 minus f by 75 is equal to 250 minus 200, which is 50. F by 50 minus f by 75 is f by 150. F by 150 is 50, or the value of f is equal to 7500. Now we can calculate the value of k also. What is 1600 minus k? In the first equation, you can substitute the value of f in any one of the two equations. If you are substituting it in the first equation, 1600 minus k minus f by 50, that is 7500 divided by 50 is 150, is equal to 200, or the value of k is 1250. We are asked to calculate the total profit when the number of boarders is 50. The total profit is 1600 n minus f minus kn, or the total profit when n is equal to 80 will be equal to n into 1600 minus, what is f? 7500 minus kn. K is 1250 minus 1250 n, or simplifying it, this is 350 into n minus 7500. What is the value of n? The value of n is 80. So this is 350 into 80 minus 7500. 350 into 80 is 28,000 minus 7500. So the total profit will be 20,500. In this question, we are told that the cost of fencing a rectangular plot is 200 per feet for one side and 100 per feet for the remaining three sides. So if you assume that this is how the rectangle is, for one of the sides it is 200 per feet, and for the remaining ones it is 100 per feet. Let us assume that the length and the breadth is, say, L and B. So what is the total money that it is going to cost to fence the entire perimeter of the rectangle? This will be 200L for this side plus 100B for this side plus 100L for this side plus 100B for this side. So the total cost will be 300L plus 200B. But we are given the area of the rectangle. We are told that the area is 60,000 square feet. So the product of L into B is given to be equal to 60,000. Now we are required to minimize the cost. What should be the value of L and B be such that the cost is minimized, and we are required to calculate that lowest possible cost. We can use arithmetic mean is greater than or equal to geometric mean. We know that 300L plus 200B divided by 2 is greater than or equal to square root of 300L into 200B. 300 into 200, this is 60,000. And L into B we were given is also equal to 60,000. So the right hand side of the inequality is square root of 60,000 into 60,000, which is basically equal to 60,000. So 300L plus 200B by 2 is greater than or equal to 60,000, or the value of 300L plus 200B, the minimum possible value, is 1.2 lakhs, which is 2 times 60,000.
We at Kraku provide all the previous year CAT papers along with many other MBA examinations such as IIFT, XAT, SNAP, MAT, CMAT, TIS and PGDBA in the actual exam format. You can attempt them as a test and get a detailed analysis of your performance or download them as PDFs.
In this question, we are told that there is a rhombus. The area of the rhombus is 96 square meters and 40 meters fencing is required to enclose the park. 40 meter is the perimeter of a rhombus. In a rhombus, all the sides are equal. So each of the 4 sides has to equal 10 meters. So let us draw the rhombus. Let us assume that this is the rhombus. Let us assume that this is the rhombus. Let us draw the diagonals of the rhombus also. This is one diagonal and this is the second diagonal. In a rhombus, the diagonals intersect at 90 degrees with each other. The diagonals are basically perpendicular to each other. Let us assume that this is the rhombus A, B, C and D. As the perimeter is 40 meters, each of the side has to be 10 meters. So this is 10, this is 10, this is 10 and this is 10. Let us assume that the diagonals are of length 2A and 2B, just to make the calculations easy. So the length of one diagonal is 2a and the length of the other diagonal is 2b. Now we know that the area of a rhombus is the product of the diagonals divided by 2. In this particular case, one diagonal is 2a and another diagonal is 2b. So 2a into 2b divided by 2 is equal to 96, or the value of a into b is equal to 48. We also know that because they are intersecting at right angles, each of these is a right angle triangle. If you are looking at AOB, for example, A and B are the non-hypotenuse sides and 10 is the hypotenuse. So a square plus b square is equal to 100. Using this, we can calculate the length of A and B. How can you calculate that? We can add 2ab and we can calculate a plus b, and we can subtract 2ab and we can calculate a minus b. Or you can look at this equation and figure out that one of them has to be 8 and the other has to be 6. If you are trying to actually derive it, because ab is equal to 48, 2ab will be 96. If you are adding a square plus b square to 2ab, you are going to get a plus b whole square. This will be equal to 100 plus 96, which is 196. So a plus b is equal to 14, which is the square root of 96. Similarly, if you subtract 2ab from a square plus b square, you are going to get a minus b whole square, and that is going to equal 100 minus 96, which is equal to 4. So a minus b is equal to 2, or the value of a will be 8, because 14 plus 2 is 16, 16 is equal to 2a. Similarly, b will be equal to 14 minus 2 divided by 2, which is 6, like we expected. But this is half of the diagonals. The lengths of the diagonals are 2a and 2b. So the lengths of both the diagonals are 16 and 12. So if you are trying to lay electric wires along the two diagonals, the total distance will be 16 plus 12, which is equal to 28, and the cost is 125 per meter. So it is 28 into 125. 28 into 125 is 3500. That will be the total cost. In this question, we are told that a tea shop offers cups in 3 different sizes. There is a small cup, there is a medium cup, and there is a large cup. The ratio of the prices of the small and the medium cup is 2:5. So let us assume that it is 2k and 5k, and let us assume that the cost of the large cup is, say, L. Now the product of these three numbers, 2k, 5k and L, was told to be equal to 800. If the price of the small cup and medium cup was increased by 6 rupees, they become 2k plus 6, 5k plus 6, and the cost of the large cup remains unchanged. Let us assume that it is again L. The product of these three numbers is 3200. So the first thing you should notice is that 2k plus 6 into 5k plus 6 divided by 2k into 5k will be equal to 3200 divided by 800, which will be equal to 4. You can cancel 2 from both sides. So this becomes, instead of 2k plus 6, it becomes k plus 3. And here we can remove 2 in the denominator. Now if you cross multiply, you are going to get the left hand side as 5k plus 6 into k plus 3 is 5k square plus 15k plus 6k plus 18 is equal to 20k square. This would imply that 15k square minus 21k minus 18 is equal to 0, or 5k square minus 7k minus 6 is equal to 0. We can simplify this as 5k plus 3 into k minus 2 is equal to 0. This would imply that the value of k is equal to 2. So the price of the small cup was 4. Price of the medium cup was 10. So what is the price of the large cup? The product of the three cups is 800. 4 into 10 is 40. 800 divided by 40 is 20. And after increase, it becomes 2k plus 6. So this becomes 10. 5k plus 6. So this becomes 16. And this remains 20. Again, the product is 20 into 16 into 10, which is 3200. So the sum of the prices of the small, medium and large cups at the start is 4 plus 10 plus 20, which is equal to 34. In this question, we are told that there are two friends who are walking around a circular track. Let us assume that the circumference of the track is equal to c. Let us assume that in 1 minute, the amount of distance that Meera walks is equal to M and the distance that Amal walks is equal to A. We are told that if they are walking in opposite directions, within 3 minutes they complete one round. So the distance that Meera walks in 3 minutes is 3m. The distance that Amal walks in 3 minutes is 3a. So 3m plus 3a is equal to c. We are also told that if they are walking in the same direction, after 45 minutes, Amal completes exactly 3 more rounds than Meera. In 45 minutes, the distance that Amal walks is 45a. The distance that Meera walks is 45m. The difference between these two is 3c. Now we can find out the value of m and a in terms of c. So let us first try to do that. We will multiply the first equation by 15. So 45m or 45a plus 45m is equal to 15c. So now if you subtract the first equation from the second equation, we are going to get that 90m is equal to 12c, or the value of m is equal to 12 by 90c, which is equal to 2 by 15c. So in 1 minute, Meera walks 2 by 15th of the circumference. So in 1 hour, she is going to walk 2 by 15c into 60. 60 by 15 is 4, so this is equal to 8c. So in 1 hour, she will complete 8 rounds around the circular track. In this question, we are told that if a certain weight of an alloy, which contains silver and copper, is mixed with 3 kg of pure silver, the resulting alloy will have 90% silver by weight. Let us assume that the initial alloy is S plus C, that is, it contains S kgs of silver and C kgs of copper. We are told that if you are adding 3 kgs of silver to it, that is, if it has 3 plus S silver and C copper, this maintains 90% of silver by weight, so the remaining 10% will be copper. So the first thing you should notice is that 3 plus S is equal to 9C, because 3 plus S is 90% and C alone is 10%, so 3 plus S is 9C, or the value of S is 9C minus 3. We are also told that if the initial alloy was instead mixed with 2 kg of another alloy which contains 90% silver by weight. So the 2 kg new alloy contains 90% silver by weight. So this contains 1.8 kgs of silver and 0.2 kgs of copper. If this is mixed with the original alloy, what is the amount of silver in it? The amount of silver will be S plus 1.8. And what is the amount of copper in it? It will be C plus 0.2. We are told that S plus 1.8 is 84% and C plus 0.2 is the remaining 16%, or S plus 1.8 divided by C plus 0.2 is equal to 84 by 16. S is 9C minus 3. So 9C minus 3 plus 1.8 divided by C plus 0.2 is equal to 84 by 16. What is 84 by 16? That is 21 by 4. 9C minus 3 plus 1.8 will be 9C minus 1.2 divided by C plus 0.2 is equal to 21 by 4. If you cross multiply, 36C minus 4.8 is equal to 21C plus 4.2, or the value of 15C is equal to 9, or the value of C is equal to 0.6 kgs. So the initial value or the initial weight of copper in the alloy is 0.6 kgs. What is the initial weight of silver in it? S is equal to 9C minus 3. 9C will be 5.4 minus 3 will be 2.4. So the initial weight of silver is 2.4 kgs. So the total weight of the alloy originally is 2.4 plus 0.6, which is 3 kgs. So the correct answer is option C. In this question, we are told that there is a triangle ABC in which one of the angles BCA is given to be equal to 50 degrees. So let us draw the triangle. Let us assume that this is how the triangle looks. This is A, this is B, and this is C. We are told that angle C is 50 degrees. We are told that D and E are points on AB and AC. So let us assume that this is D and this is E, such that AD is equal to DE. So if you join D and D, these two sides are of the same length. We are told that F is a point on BC, so F is somewhere over here, such that BD is equal to DF. So again, if you join D and F, BD and DF are the same. So here we are having a lot of isosceles triangles. So if you are first looking at the isosceles triangle ADE, and if you assume that angle A is small a, then the value of angle E will also be equal to small a, because AD is equal to DE. Similarly, BDF is an isosceles triangle. So if you assume that angle B is small b, the value of angle F will also be equal to small b. So what is the value of angle BDF? This will be 180 minus 2b. Similarly, the value of angle ADE will be 180 minus 2a. Now we can calculate the value of angle FDE, because the value of angle BDE plus angle FDE, angle BDF plus FDE plus EDA, the sum of these three angles has to equal 180 degrees because they are lying on a straight line. This would imply that the value of angle FDE will be equal to 180 minus 2a plus 180 minus 2b. Or if you simplify this, this is equal to 2a plus 2b minus 180 degrees. But do we know the value of a plus b? We know that angle A plus angle B plus 50 degrees has to equal 180 degrees because ABC is a triangle. So A plus B plus 50 degrees is equal to 180 degrees, or the value of A plus B is equal to 130 degrees. So the value of 2 times A plus B minus 180 will equal 2 times 130 minus 180, which is equal to 260 minus 180, which is equal to 80 degrees. So the answer for this question is option B, which is 80 degrees.
Google search Kraku free CAT mocks. Click on the first link. You can attempt 3 latest mocks in the actual exam interface. After completing the test, you get detailed solutions, analysis and percentile along with your scorecard to gauge your All India performance. Click on the solutions to get video solutions from our expert faculty.
In this question, we are told that Bank A offers 6% interest rate compounded half yearly. So essentially, this is 3% interest rate every 6 months. We are told that there are 2 people, one is Raju and one is Rupa. Both of them have invested in 2 other banks. Both of them are getting simple interest. The interest rate on Raju's bank is half of that of Rupa's bank. So if you assume that Raju's interest rate is R%, Rupa's interest rate will be 2R%. And Rupa has invested 10,000 rupees. Raju has invested for 1 year and Rupa therefore has invested for twice that period, so for 2 years. We are told that the interest that Raju would get is the same that he would have got if he had invested in the first bank, which was giving him 3% interest rate compounded semi-annually. What is the interest that he would get at the end of 1 year from Bank A? That would be P into 1.03 whole square, because he has invested for 1 year, which is 2 times 6 months, and the interest is 3% every 6 months, because the overall interest rate is 6%, but this is compounded semi-annually, that is half yearly. So the interest from the first bank will be P into 1.03 whole square minus P. This is P into 1.0609 minus P, which is equal to 0.0609p, or essentially the interest rate R, because this is for 1 year, is 6.09%. Therefore, the interest on the second bank, which is twice this, will be 12.18%. This is simple interest. So the simple interest that Rupa would get in 2 years when she has invested 10,000 rupees is equal to 10,000 into 12.18 divided by 100 into 2. You can cancel 100 over here and here. This is 1218 into 2, which is equal to 2436. So the correct answer is option B. In this question, we are told that f of x is equal to x square minus 7x and g of x is x plus 3. We are asked to calculate the value of f of g of x minus 3x. G of x is equal to x plus 3. So the value of f of g of x will be equal to f of x plus 3. But f of x is x square minus 7x. So f of x plus 3 will be x plus 3 whole square minus 7 times x plus 3 This is the value of f of g of x. What is f of g of x minus 3x? This will be x plus 3 whole square minus 7 times x plus 3 minus 3x. We are trying to find out the minimum possible value of this expression. If you are expanding this, this will be x square plus 6x plus 9 minus 7x minus 21 minus 3x. This is x square minus 4x minus 12. We are trying to find out the minimum value of this expression. If you are trying to find out the minimum value of this expression, let us try to complete a perfect square. So this is x square minus 4x plus 4 minus 4 minus 12. We have just added and subtracted 4. The reason for that is because x square minus 4x plus 4 is equal to x minus 2 whole square minus 16. We are trying to find out the minimum possible value of this particular expression. The minimum value of x minus 2 whole square is 0. Because this is a perfect square, the minimum possible value is 0 and it happens when x is equal to 2. So the minimum possible value of the given expression will be minus 16 and this happens when x is equal to 2. In this question we are told that Anil can paint a house in 12 days. Barun can paint it in 16 days. And if Anil, Barun and Chandu, all of them are painting, they can finish it in just 6 days. So let us assume that the total work that needs to be done for painting this house is equal to the LCM of 12, 16 and 6, because then it will make the calculations easy. What is the LCM of 12, 16 and 6? That will be 48 units. So let us assume that the total work that needs to be done is 48 units. Anil can complete 48 units in 12 days. So every day he does 4 units per day. Barun can complete 48 units in 16 days. So every single day he is going to do 3 units every day. And all 3 of them can finish this in 6 days. So all 3 of them together will do 48 divided by 6, that is 8 units per day. Out of which Anil does 4 and Barun does 3. This would imply that Chandu does 1 unit every day. Because 8 minus 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. For the entire work they were paid 24,000 rupees. How much does Chandu make? When they are doing 8 units of work every day, Chandu does 1 unit of it. So the amount of money that he takes will also be 1/8 of the total money that they received, which is 1/8 of 24,000, which is 3,000 rupees. In this question, we are told that n is a positive integer such that 10 to the power 1 by 7 into 10 to the power 1 by 7 whole square into dot 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 into 10 to the power 1 by 7 whole to the power n is greater than 999. Remember that 999 is basically 1000 minus 1, or this is basically 10 cube minus 1. We are required to calculate the minimum possible value of n for which this inequality is true. Now if you are looking at the left hand side, this is 10 to the power 1 by 7 into 10 to the power 2 by 7 into 10 to the power 3 by 7 into dot 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 into 10 to the power n by 7. This is equal to 10 to the power 1 by 7 plus 2 by 7 plus 3 by 7 plus dot 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 plus n by 7. This can be simplified to equal 10 to the power n into n plus 1 divided by 2 whole divided by 7. So this is 14. We want this to be greater than 999. So the smallest possible value, basically because 999 is 10 cube minus 1, like we have discussed earlier. The value of n into n plus 1 by 14 has to be greater than or equal to 3. Or the value of n into n plus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 42. And the minimum possible value of n for which this is true is equal to 6. Because this becomes equal to 6 into 7, which is equal to 42. In this question, we are told that there is a 4-digit number which is formed using the digits 1, 2 and 3 such that 2 and 3 have to appear at least once. And we are required to calculate how many such 4-digit numbers exist. Before we actually do that, let us first look at a particular instance where say there are only 2 alphabets A and B, and A is repeated say 3 times. then the number of combinations of the words that can be formed using 3a's and 1b will be equal to 4 factorial divided by, because a is repeated 3 times, 3 factorial, which is equal to 4. And those 4 numbers basically will be AAAAB or AABA or ABAA or BAAA. Similarly, if you are having 4 alphabets such that A is repeated 2 times and B is repeated 2 times, then the number of words that can be formed is 4 factorial divided by, because A is repeated 2 times, 2 factorial, and B is repeated 2 times, so another 2 factorial, which will be equal to 6. In general, if you have n total number of alphabets to be n, suppose they are x1, x2 dot 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 into xn, but some of them are the same. Suppose these contain, say, A 4 times, and suppose B is repeated 3 times. That is basically, say, if x1 is A, x2 is A, x3 is A, x4 is A, and so on. Similarly, you have 3 B's, and suppose you have some more C's, and so on. Then the total number of permutations of words that can be formed will be equal to n factorial, which is the total number of alphabets, divided by, for each instance, the number of times that particular alphabet is repeated. So in this case, A is repeated 4 times, so you divide n factorial by 4 factorial. B is repeated 3 times, so by 3 factorial, and so on. If suppose there is an alphabet which is not repeated, but it will be repeated only once, that is, say there is an alphabet D which is existing only once, then you divide it by 1 factorial, but that is redundant because 1 factorial is 1. In general, if you are having all the n letters to be distinct, then the number of permutations that are possible is n factorial. But if, say, a particular alphabet is repeated 2 times, then you divide it by 2 factorial. If another alphabet is also repeated 2 times, then you again divide it by 2 factorial, and so on. For example, in this particular case, because we are having 2 A's and 2 B's, it is 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial and another 2 factorial. 4 factorial is 24, 2 factorial is 2, 2 factorial is 2, so that is 24 divided by 4, which is 6. Now, if you are looking at this particular question, we have to find a 4-digit number using 1, 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 have to be repeated at least once. So let us first consider the case where there is no 1. There will be 2 such cases. You will have 3 2's and 1 3, or you will have 2 2's and 2 3's, or you will have another case actually. You will have 1 2 and 3 3's. These are all the cases possible without having a single 1. Suppose you are having only 1. Now you can have either 1 2 and 2 3's, or you can have 2 2's and 1 3. Suppose you are having 2 1's, this is 1 and this is 1. Then there is only one case possible because 2 and 3 have to appear at least once. These are all the cases that are possible. But in each particular case, we have a different number of permutations. In the first case, there are again always 4 digits, but 2 is repeated 3 times. So it has to be 4 factorial divided by 3 factorial, which is 4. 4 permutations are possible. In the second case, you have 2 2's and 2 3's. So the total number of permutations possible is 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 2 factorial, which is 6. In the third case, you have 3 3's and 1 2. So again, it is the first instance. So it will be 4. Now you have 2 3 3 1. So again, it has to be 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial because only 3 is repeated 2 times. 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial will be equal to 12. So this will be 12. In this particular case, again 1 and 3 are distinct, they are not repeated, but 2 is repeated 2 times. So again it will be 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial, which is 12. In the last case also, 2 and 3 appear only once, but 1 is repeated 2 times. So again it will be 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial, which is 12. So the total number of numbers that can be formed will be 12 plus 12 plus 12, which is 36, plus 4, so 40, plus 6 plus 4 is 10, 40 plus 10 is 50. So the required answer is 50.
We at Kraku provide all the previous year CAT papers along with many other MBA examinations such as IIFT, XAT, SNAP, MAT, CMAT, TISS and PGDBA in the actual exam format. You can attempt them as a test and get a detailed analysis of your performance or download them as PDFs.
In this question, we are told that ABCD is a parallelogram and the length of AD and the length of the diagonal AC are given 10 centimeters and 20 centimeters. We are also given the angle ADC, this is equal to 30 degrees. We are asked to calculate the area of the parallelogram. Let us first understand the information that is given to us. We have A, B, C, D. This is the parallelogram. We are given A, B, C and D. We are given the length of AD, this is 10 centimeters. We are told that the length of the diagonal AC is 20. So this is 20. And we are told that the angle ADC over here is 30 degrees. Let us drop a perpendicular from A to CD. Let us assume that this is meeting CD at a point E. Now the area of the parallelogram is basically the length of DC into the height AE. So if you are able to figure out the length of CD into the height AE, that is the area, that is what we are required to find out. Now if you look at 30 degrees and you have 10, so if you are looking at the triangle AED, that is a right angle triangle, so the length of ED can be determined, that will be equal to 10 cos 30 degrees. So what is the length of AE? This will be 10 sin 30 degrees. Therefore, the length of AE, because sin 30 is half, AE will be equal to 5. And the length of DE will be equal to 5 root 3. So, we have figured out the length of AE. We have to figure out the length of CD. If you are trying to figure out the length of CD, we have already figured out the length of ED. So, if we can figure out the length of EC, we will be done. How can we figure out the length of EC? If you are looking at the triangle AEC, that is a right angle triangle. We know that the length of the hypotenuse is 20. We know that the length of one of the non-hypotenuse sides is 5. So, the length of EC will be square root of 20 square minus 5 square. 20 square is 400. So, this is equal to square root of 400 minus 25, which is equal to square root of 375. If you divide 375 by 25, that will be equal to 15, because 25 into 15 is equal to 375. So, this is equal to 5 square root of 15. Therefore, the length of CD will be 5 square root of 15 plus 5 square root of 3, because 5 square root of 15 is EC and 5 square root of 3 is ED. So, the length of CD is 5 square root of 15 plus 5 square root of 3. The length of AE is 5. Therefore, the area of the parallelogram will be 25 into square root of 3 plus square root of 15. So, the correct answer is option B. In this question, we are given two equations. We are told that 3x plus 2 times modulus of y plus y is equal to 7 and x plus modulus of x plus 3y is equal to 1, and we are required to calculate the value of x plus 2y. If you look at the equations, we have x, we have y, we have modulus of x and we have modulus of y. So, let us consider 4 cases. The 4 cases involve the sign of x and y. In the first case, let us assume that x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0. In the second case, let us assume that x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0. In the third case, let us assume that x is less than 0 and y is greater than 0. And in the last case, let us assume that x is less than 0 and y is less than 0. In the first case, modulus of x will be x, modulus of y will be y. In the second case, modulus of x will remain x, but because now y is less than 0, modulus of y will be minus y. In the third case, x is less than 0, so modulus of x is equal to minus x and modulus of y is equal to y. In the third case, both of them are less than 0, so modulus of x is equal to minus x and modulus of y is equal to minus y. Now, if you are looking at the cases where x is less than 0, because the second equation has x plus modulus of x, we will look at the fourth case first, because then we will calculate the answers faster. Because modulus of x is equal to minus x, the second equation would transform to equal x plus modulus of x plus 3y is equal to 1. But because modulus of x is equal to minus x, x plus modulus of x will become equal to 0, or the value of y is equal to 1 by 3. So, clearly the last case is not correct, because you want y to be less than 0. If you are looking at the third case, where again modulus of x is equal to minus x or x plus modulus of x is equal to 0, again we will have 3y to be equal to 1, or the value of y is equal to 1 by 3. Y is greater than 0 over here, so this seems to be fine as of now. But let us calculate the value of x also. The first equation would imply that 3x plus 2 times modulus of y would be 2 by 3 plus y will be 1 by 3 is equal to 7. or 3x will be equal to 6 or the value of x is equal to 2. But here we are getting x to be greater than 0. But we want x to be less than 0. So this case also is disqualified. So the only two cases which are remaining are where x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0. If you are looking at the first case, modulus of x is x and modulus of y is y. So the first equation will simplify to equal 3x plus 3y is equal to 7. And the second equation will transform to equal 2x plus 3y is equal to 1. So if you subtract the second equation from the first equation, the value of x is equal to 6, which would imply that 3x is equal to 18, or the value of 3y will be 7 minus 18, which is equal to minus 11, or the value of y is equal to minus 11 by 3. But in this case, we want x to be greater than 0 and y to be greater than 0. So this also is not true. The only case remaining is x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0. So here modulus of x is x and modulus of y is minus y. So the first equation will simplify to equal 3x minus y is equal to 7. And the second equation will simplify to equal 2x plus 3y is equal to 1. Let us multiply the first equation by 3. So 9x minus 3y is equal to 21. If you add both of them, you are going to get 11x to be 22, or the value of x will be equal to 2. If x is equal to 2, 3x will be equal to 6. So the value of y is equal to minus 1. Here x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0. So this is the solution. What are we required to calculate? We are required to calculate the value of x plus 2y. That is 2 minus 2, which is equal to 0. So the correct answer is option C.